Why do we tell actors to break a leg?
Why do we tell actors to break a leg?
Because every play has a cast.
Every play has a cast. Another joke?
The dad went to get a blood test the other day, and the nurse asked for his blood type. And what he said?
What was his blood type?
Red.
Did you get it right?
Goodbye, everyone. I hope I see some more jokes for next week. I'll see y'all later. Bye.
That was a good.
Oh, I need to do another one. Thanks for the jokes. Thanks for the jokes. Keep coming. Three, two. The dad went. Okay, let me do that again. God, I forgot what I was saying.
That's it. Start again. Oh, g'day everybody. Welcome. Who have we got on? We've got Mark, Shane, we've got Jeremy, we've got another Mark, we've got Ricky, we've got Dale. Yes, episode 29, who would have thunk it? Make sure that you get on and send Harry a couple of jokes because he's really getting into the show and helping me out behind the scenes. So send the jokes in. You can PM them to me. You can put them in the comments. Harry's on there eagerly awaiting a couple of jokes. Don't forget to put your postcode in to win a prize. We are drawing out some prizes for postcode, obviously, tonight. Two big guests on again. We had these guys way back in about episode 4, so at the middle of April. So we thought we'd check in and see how the guys are going post or halfway through or whatever we want to call it from COVID. And we'll talk about anything cod and yellow belly and that sort of thing as well. I have to say the Pay It Forward campaign, this run was a bit of a flop, so we couldn't give it away because nobody tagged anyone else in to win a prize. So I'll run another Pay It Forward campaign next week, and we'll see if we. I also during the week gave away some of my old camera gear. So there was a little camcorder here, which George Matthews claimed, and an old DSLR camera that I had sitting around, and that went to Brett Weller. So those guys, hope you enjoy the new camera equipment so you can get on and put your own video content up. Who else we got on? Bill. G'day, Bill, Salty, Maddie, Shane, Luke. Oh, we've got a few on, so listen, Pay It Forward. I'll run it again, and we'll see if we can get some winners for that one. It is free gear, so, all you got to do is like, tag, share. It's pretty easy. What else? The Brand Ambassadors program is going great guns. It's been seen all around Australia. We've been on local TV. We've been everywhere. So for you guys that haven't been on and checked it out, this is the page here that you're looking for. It's the Allocraft Brand Ambassadors apprenticeship group. It's a closed group. Send in your members' requests. We'll put it on, whack your video up there, and then we'll finally we'll draw a top 10 to go through to win the boat for 2 years and mentoring by me. So I've been trying to get my social media up and running so I can actually mentor you guys too. A little bit of a humbling thing happened to me during the week. On a previous guest on the show, Rod Harrison. Out of the blue, I got an envelope from Rod during the week, which is, I was telling him how this was my Bible when I was starting out in fishing, and I used to just refer back to this book all the time. Rod found it in his own time to actually send it and sign it for me. So that's going in the pool room, as we say. So thank you very much for Mr. Harrison for that one. Love your work. Keep putting the postcodes in, and let's go. Let's see if we can get these guys on. I'm kind of scared at the same time that I'm scared. I'm actually really looking forward to this. It is always a great chat when I get these two together. I am still looking forward. We were going to do it, 3 months ago. We were going to go up the river and have a bit of a banter, but we haven't been able to do that. So I had to get them back on for a chat. So I'll bring them on, and we'll. Here we go, gentlemen. How are we?
Hey, Corey. Hey, Rod. How you going, mate? So, did you hear Corey? He said you put on weight.
There you go. Hey, look, How's the audio? I'm asking the audience to test how the audio is. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. We'll just check that out as we go. Let us know if the audio is still good, and don't forget to put the postcode in. Listen, I love having dual guests on, but I love having mates on as well. You guys love to throw the banter around. I'll try and keep it as serious as what I can tonight. But you know, it's look, my son's already on there picking on me weight too. Thanks for that. So I'll just pop the chest out. That's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Glenn, you've had a bit of a surprise during the week. I see a young sponsored angler of yours that's been with you for 20 odd years. He decided to give you a shout out on the big stage in the States.
Oh, mate, that was pretty special. That was, yeah. I actually didn't get to see it. I got a text through because I was down in the shed working. It was come through about 6:30 in the morning, and Sean Clancy sent me a text and he said, "How bloody good's that?" And I said, "Effing what?" And then I come up and had a look see, and then all this sort of happened. So.
Listen, you know what? I'm a big rat for Bassman. Once I found them, I've just continued to have them in my kit. They're great, and you've branched out, and it's not just Bassman spinnerbaits anymore. We talked about on the last show how you name some of your lures and stuff like that, but we'll talk about that later on. I just want to play this video for everyone because this is Carl Jacobson in the States. It only goes for the time he weighs in his fish, but let's have a look at this.
Win the Elite Series event, Fear My Heart, Carl Jacobson. 14.6 yesterday, 15.2 today, and with 29 pounds, 8 ounces, Carl Jacobson moves into 10th place currently. And once again, Lake Gunnersville has been very, very good to Carl Jacobson. Gonna weigh that for Phoenix Boats Big Bass needs to be better than 6'1", 5'4", but it don't matter because you're sitting in 10th place, and man, Gunnersville is a special place for you, and continues on.
Yeah, it's just a place that I love. I want to tell a quick story. I've been sponsored by Bassman Spinnerbaits since I was 15 years old. They came to me when I was just a kid. I used to build them in their little place. They'd come to our tournaments in Australia, and they started sponsoring me, and that was 17 years ago, I think, or longer, and now they're here in the US. We've got them built a US largemouth range. Glen and Sue build them in a little shop back in Australia. They're available now at Omnia Fishing, and I had 12 pounds all day today, made this crazy run all the way up to the dam on this little spot, pull the Bassman spinnerbait. I've been wanting to do this for ever since I made the Elites, and I'm just winding it, and that giant just came out and ate it right in front of my eyes, and I landed it, got it all on GoPro. I can't wait to show you the footage. I got pretty emotional because Glen and Sue have supported me for so long, and I was like, that one's for you guys. Thanks, Bassman Spinnerbaits, and hope you guys support it, and I can hopefully going to make day 4, but it's a absolute dream just to be fishing tomorrow.
Awesome to see. Great tournament.
It's cool. So cool.
So what a sponsor's dream, mate.
That was so cool, mate. And it just makes you all fuzzy inside, you know. It just, it was pretty cool.
And you had another 2 anglers over there that you sponsor as well. People don't realise that Carl's not the only angler you sponsored. That were in one was in the top 10 and one was just outside of the top 10.
Yeah, well, not only was Carl, we sponsor Seth Fighter as well, Chris Grow as well. And, they were both doing really well in that comp as well. So, they're all really good guys, down to earth, really good people.
Yeah, and look, as I said, we're looking for the Yellowcroft brand ambassador. I mean, if you want to model yourself on anyone, that's the guy to do it. I don't know of anyone in it that's been better for the sport or for Australian sport in general in the States. He's just doing great guns, isn't he?
Yeah, well, from a sponsor's point of view, you want people like Carl and like Rod from my perspective. Yeah, it's sort of, you grow with them. You grow with them over years. So, like, it's 20-odd years, and it's like a family. It's not just a quick fix, a few dollars or or a few bits and pieces of tackle. No, this is something that grows over time. So, yeah, this is what it's all about, something really special.
No, great guy he is. Now, listen, to get the screens right tonight, I'm going to fiddle around with this a little bit. I'm just going to put the boat up here. This is the prize boat, and we'll leave that up there so everyone's in a little.
Next time we bounce around, I'm going to coat hanger you, Mackenzie.
You're talking about us growing, mate. We have grown a bit, haven't we?
We sure have. Yeah, not up.
As in size, like, yeah, we've puffed out a bit.
Now I'll get back to you, Glenn. I've got to look. No introduction. I have to say, Rod, Codmac, Mackenzie, F you. I am sick of seeing meter-long cod come up on my Facebook over the COVID period. I got up, I think every morning I made my coffee and got another meter-long cod. You are a rock star when it comes to these big fish. 130 days worth of yourself holding up big fish. How can you catch that many?
Mate, it wasn't just me. It's the people I fish with. And you've got to realise I've been doing this for a while. So I just thought during COVID, I thought, well, bugger it. I'll just every day I'll put up 1 or 2 big fish. It certainly wasn't just me. It's a lot of people that I've fished with over the time and taken fishing and sort of spent time with on the water. And I still got about another 200 days of COVID to go. So if it comes back, we're right to rock and roll. So.
Well, I can tell you from a guest on last week, we had Gary Fitzgerald on last week, and he said that every Murray cod's pattern that they've got lasts their lifetime, and they're like a fingerprint. So I'll put all of those photos through, and I'll see how many of them are you recycling.
Mate, you can go for it. I keep finding photos and stuff. It's like, oh, I forgot about that one. Oh, there's another one. And I haven't got back to the slide stuff yet. I've got a couple of 100 slides, and I'm looking forward to that. And as Tony Bennett said, I've probably only got some rock carvings of them, like back before cameras were invented. So I've been doing it a while.
I was going to say, yeah. Yeah. I was definitely going to say, how many of them are on negatives that you haven't transferred to digital yet?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the thing. There's a lot of the slide. There's a lot of old slide stuff. When I first started writing for the magazines, you had to have slide film, and it wasn't like nowadays. You could just take a few snaps and have a quick look and go, hey, that's a good shot. That's a great shot. You had to go up, catch a fish, take all the photos on your camera, send your slide film away, wait 2 weeks, and then get it back, And, sometimes you got it back. I was like, oh, God. And sometimes where you sent it to, they stuffed it up too, Like, oh, sorry about that, but we stuffed your film up. It's like, oh, my God, like, there's a heap of big fish on that. But, no, it's been good, mate. It's been a long journey, and it's hopefully there's a bit more to come. And now we are back out of lockdown. I can't wait for the season to reopen, I can tell you.
Oh, look, yeah, I am interested, and that's why I wanted to get you back on the show. What do you do in the off season, so to speak? What do you do when cod season closes down? We let the big girls nest. What's your general plan? Do you go targeting other fish? Do you just put in some work on the house, or what's your process once the lockdown starts?
Well, mate, I generally drink cans and eat barbecues.
Have a look at him. From Jenny Craig.
There are other fish I like, Corey. I love surf fishing. As far removed as it is from the Murray River, I love going to the beach and chasing dewies and gummies and snapper and stuff like that. I like big redfin. I just like all sorts of fishing, mate. So long as the fish has got a bit of size about it, it's great fun, Like, if I'm going to go and fish for a trout, I'll go and find the biggest trout I can find. Or kingfish, the same thing. Or dewies, the same thing. Like, head across to the dog fence. We're locked out of there at the moment. We're locked out of South Australia because we're Germy. But hopefully, before November, they'll open that border back up and I can slip back over the dog fence and have the fish.
So we've got...
Chase some big dewies.
Yeah, so we've got about a month of... We know down here in Victoria, we've got about a month that we know that we're going to sort of stay back in lockdown, but then it's going to give us 3-4 weeks before cod season opens. What's your first trip? What are you gonna head and do?
Well, we've generally been locked into the Cod Opening Classic, Tony's competition, it's a fantastic competition.
Yeah.
Well organised and well run. It's been going. I think I've been going there for about 18 years. Tony and Vanessa and the footy club run the show, and it's great. So that's normally where we go, you know. But this year, because of COVID, it hasn't been able to go ahead. So I sort of haven't really cemented anything yet, Corey. I'm just going to wait and see what happens over the next few weeks, because we've just gone through a holiday period. I know we've got the bug down. A holiday period is a good chance for it to get out and move around again. Hopefully, come cod opening, we'll be free to go. And I'll decide probably a week or two out. I'll do a bit of homework, look around. I've got a few spots that I wouldn't mind getting back to. And I guess a lot of it will depend on border closures and stuff too. But, you know, the last few years, Swan Hills started to fish particularly well. So I might even, you know, if I'm locked down, I'll probably head over Swan Hill way somewhere. But once again, it comes down to water clarity, and there's a lot of things. There's a lot of little things that'll send you to where you're going to go, you know.
Yeah. So you've been 18 years at the Cod Classic, and as you said, we totally agree. Tony Bennett and the footy club and Vanessa do a sterling job with that comp. It's great fun. You guys both go to it for cod season, but this is going to be your first cod opening where you don't have to go and sit on a stand all weekend. You actually can go fishing yourself, and you know, you're still telling me that it's going to be just play it by ear.
Yeah, I'm a little bit excited about it actually, mate. Like, it'll be great. I mean, there's generally a lot of other people go out for the cod open, but we've got some spots where we'll disappear to, and you probably no one there, you know. So there's still spots like that left if you can keep them sort of under your belt a little bit, and you know, we can get away and spend a few days. Under your belt.
It'll be very shady under there.
You've thrown the belt away, man.
Yeah, pre-Santa Claus suit. Yeah, but anyway. No, I am looking forward to it, Corey. It'll just be a little bit different here. It's always great going over to Tony's comp. I always enjoy it. I enjoy, you know, talking to the public, and I just enjoy the whole atmosphere, catching up with people that I haven't seen.
Good catch up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a good catch up, and you have a few beers and a laugh, and every year you might see people that you haven't seen for 12 months, and you share a story and a beer, and it's great, you know. And it's been a thing, like I said. I think I've been going for 18 or 19 years, as long as, I don't know whether you were there before me, Glenn, but
I think we're around about the same time, mate, because we were introduced to each other over there through Hodge and that sort of thing. Yeah, that was a fair while ago now.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, it was great. Like, Tony approached us and asked us to come over, and that's, you know, it's sort of history from there. It's a great comp.
Yeah, it is. It's great fun. I was privileged about 2 years ago when I first moved down. I got a bunch of my brother's mates. We went up and did it, and then we did it again last year, and we were all looking forward, all booked in for this year, but it can't happen. But do watch, do jump on and like Lake Mulwala Fish Camp Skis Facebook page, because I believe that if COVID allows it, Tony might run a smaller local thing. So for all those local fishermen around that area, Tony might still be able to put on a little localised thing that weekend. So just watch their Facebook page just in case that information does come out. It'll be late mail, so that'll be good. Hey, listen, postcode prize has been selected by Harry inside, and we've got a Bassman buzzbait and a Guru swim bait, and that's going to Brandon Scott from Gippsland, Victoria, 3840. So, Brandon, if you can send me your address, personal message to Corey's Dam Fishing, and we'll post them out to you this week, mate. And we've still got some more prizes to give away, but we'll leave it at that. Let's just close that down. So, Glenn, what are your plans? You know, you're a little better up there. You've been let out of lockdown. You can't still cross into Queensland or Victoria, but you've been let out up there. But you can't leave the shop at the moment. You're pretty busy.
I am, mate. Yeah, I'm just sort of basically now I'm head down, bum up. If I could drag the actually little big bowler up to help me out, would be awesome.
Yeah, the head down, bum up. You can't tell the difference on either end, I don't reckon.
No, mate, sort of.
Right.
No, well, I had to, it was only earlier today that I was finally able to get you on. You've been pretty busy. Obviously, now you've bought the States online and you're selling stuff over there. You've got your lures in all the big operators, your BCFs and Anacondas. Then you've got all your little shops around the place. So for a little country setup that originally was going to all the tournaments in the little caravan trailer thing, and you used to fold them up at the competitions. I know Carl said it in the video where the 15-year-old he used to go and help fold them up and do all the stuff in the trailer. To what you are now, you'd have to be pretty happy with your situation.
Well, yes and no. I wouldn't mind some sleep, and I actually wouldn't mind to go fishing, just to be honest. But, yeah, look, I can't complain. At least we've got some work and that sort of thing to do. So, yeah, we just got to knuckle down and get them done. That's the main thing. We got a few dramas with trying to get stuff, hooks and that from overseas, but that's part and parcel of this sort of situation we're in at the present time. But,
yeah, it's very hard when the ports are closed. There's not a lot of planes coming in. I know that they've taken seats out of planes to bring stock over and stuff like that. But, I think everyone would be understanding of the fact that, if you can't get stock, you can't get the lures on the shelves as well.
Exactly, mate. But, yeah, anyway, I can't go anywhere. He'll just send me photos and I'll just listen. And, he rings up every now and again and just spins a whole heap of bullshit and that to me. And I just sit in the corner and cry.
He fishes too much and you don't fish enough.
Exactly.
The odd couple. You know what? I'm sitting there looking at the screen. It feels like I'm part of the Brady Bunch with all the screens and everyone everywhere.
Yeah.
That's definitely Marsha.
Marsha.
Yeah, you're Mary Ellen.
Yeah.
No, that's a different show, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, listen, I'll put the call out there. Get your questions in if you want to ask these guys some questions. Obviously the questions will be revolved around fishing in general, but they don't have to be. So put a little bit of thought into your questions. We got one straight away. Look at that. Put the call out and they come up. So we'll just cover his head. Paul Langley has written, have you considered having a product produced overseas? Are you passionate about continuing Aussie-built tradition?
Yes, I have considered it. The hard part with that is trying to find someone who will keep the standards and that sort of thing that we actually want. The worst part about trying to keep it here in Australia, which I battle with all the time, is actually trying to find people that want to work. That is my biggest drama here where I actually am, is actually physically getting people to do the job. It's not hard, but it's monotonous. And when you got to do the same thing every day, it's just, nobody wants to do it. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah.
Sort of stuff. I'd love to find somebody else to help us out.
Well, we'll put the call out of there. If there is any young, avid anglers that want to learn, they should get in contact with you. But I think, it's very hard in this country when we give away so much free money. And at the moment with COVID, there is that much money out there for people not to work. I mean, you're sitting there screaming for, I know it in a lot of different places, but you're screaming to try and get people in. And they're like, well, why would I go and work when I can sit on my ass and do nothing?
Yeah. Yeah, and it is monotonous work. It's exactly the same thing. You've been in my shed, you're playing with lead, it's paint, it's all bits and pieces. So yeah, it's monotonous.
Yeah, but look, it's a great product, and if you did go overseas, you might lose a little bit, as you said, of that quality. So it's very, very hard to do both.
Exactly, and and you can't get overseas at the present time either. It makes it a bit hard. So
does make it hard, but we'll see what happens. We've got another. Let's get this one. Hey, Rod, Glen, and Corey. Hey, Glen, how can I get my hands on the Bassman Big Cod Dreams Edition spinnerbait? Thanks. So Fish On, I believe, is Victorian. So where would he get a Bassman Big Cod Dreams Edition spinnerbait?
he would have to go to Big Bass Dreams Australia, and it goes through there. The boys from there do it. It's a limited run we done through those guys, and it's just a special edition with those boys. So
directly through the website.
Yeah, he'd have to go through them.
Yep. So that's a good question. That's awesome. We got here. Shane Melrose reckons, Rod, that you need to take Colonel Dan Andrews out for a fish and get him on the beer, so he might let us all go out fishing after that.
Yeah, no, I'd get him on the beers all right. We're making that crook he wouldn't turn up for 4 or 5 days. He'd be like his security guard's lost.
We might be able to find a stump or two to put him under.
No, that'd be fun, I reckon. We could teach him a few bits and pieces.
That's a good question, Shane. I love that one. Dale Sinclair wants to know, is there a height restriction on working for you, Glen?
I was thinking about this before.
Good on you.
I was thinking about it before when they shut the border. It didn't really affect Glen because he just walked under it.
Actually, I could probably put a mezzanine in my shed at 6 foot, and no one would hit their head.
We've got a question from Jeremy here. G'day, Glen. What would be your favourite lure that you've produced? We'll answer that one. You have a think about that one while we go on to Rod's part of the question. And what's your go-to lure, Rod? So let's start with you, Glen, with what's your favourite lure you've produced?
Probably the one there's two that's sort of memorable, but probably the first one would be our first Codman, the first Codman spinnerbait that we started.
Yep.
When we first original done that first Codman, that would be probably one that sticks in my mind the most, because that's sort of what started the ball rolling. You know, it was part and parcel of meeting Hodge and meeting Rod at the same time and developing it, and it was right at the start of all the Cod Almighty videos and everything like that. So that's one that sticks in my mind. It's probably the first one, to go. And then the next one is this one that we've just done with Carl. That has been over 4 years in the making.
So that's a largemouth spinnerbait that you've just released.
Yeah, that one we've been doing with Carl. That's sort of been over about 4 years in the making, that one.
And people think that we talked about this last time, but people think about spinnerbaits and they just think it's a piece of fence and wire with a lead weight on the end. That whole 4 years, a lot of that was being able to find the right wire, wasn't it?
That's correct, mate. We went through about 6 or 7 different mixtures of wire, different makeups of it, until we got the right one that we needed, and also just different thicknesses with it as well. So there is a ratio between the thickness of the wire and the weight that you can actually use to the blade size. It's just a sort of like a little thing that all goes together to make the right sort of spinnerbait and make it work properly. So just a little recipe.
Yeah. And let's go to the second part of that question from Jeremy. Rod, what's your go-to lure?
Well, just on what Glen just said, that's why this boy's the king of spinnerbaits. Because there's a lot more in it than most people think. There's people out there that actually whack them together and, they look all right, but they don't actually work that well. And Glen's been fiddling around for years getting this right. And he's worked with, anglers and stuff. And he gets the feedback and he tries to improve it. I will agree with Glen on the Codman. Like, it was a big eye-opener back in the day when we first started fishing it, and the amount of giant cod that we caught on it. But of Glen's spinnerbaits, for me, I love the DT. I just think for me, so many big cod I've smacked on the DT. It just seemed to be my go-to big cod lure. Just, every time I used it, or most of the fish I caught on it were really big. If I've got a hard body lure, look, you just can't go past a stump jumper. It comes out of a packet, costs you $10 or $12. It's called squillions of giant Murray cod. Easy to use, easy to cast. It's just an easy go-to lure, Number one.
Look, if you were going cod fishing and you didn't have a stumpy or a Bassman spinnerbait in your box, you're not giving yourself the right chance.
No, well, it certainly helps, and they're not really dear items. They're, I know a lot of lures nowadays, like the price is really blown out on lures, and I look at it sometimes and I think, seriously, if you go through all them photos I put up, Corey, over the I
watched them all. Don't worry.
Yeah, there was no $60, $70 lures in any of them fish. And the other 100 or more, or a couple hundred photos I've got to go, there's no high price lures in them. Cod haven't changed that much that we need to chuck a $200 lure into the water to catch one.
No.
I seen a special today on I don't know what website it was on. It was like 3 number one stumpies in a pack for $28.99.
Yep.
So you've got 3 awesome cod lures for under $30. So you don't have to overthink it. There's some really good lures out there that aren't priced over the moon, and if you want to use new stuff, use it,
Yep. There's funny the amount of Queenslanders that would come down and fish cod water for it's all new, it's all the in thing at the moment. So everyone's shooting down from Queensland to Copeton and coming down to the river and whatnot. And you open up their tackle box. And I was the same. Don't get me wrong. When I come down, I didn't have many hard bodies in my box. But they don't. The hard bodies just aren't used chasing fish in Queensland. Yet you get down here and half of my boat now is full of stump jumpers.
Yeah.
That's because they drink 4X, Corey.
Yeah.
They should learn to spell beer.
We got a couple of jig questions here, so let me go to the last one. Brucey Anderson. There we go. Hi, Glen and Rod. Have you used larger jigs for cod?
Not really.
No, not really. I've made them. They've been working really well with the boys on the Barra at the present time. I've given them to a couple of boys who've actually fished Mowalla, and they've had their ass handed to them. But it's going to be. I was talking to another young fella down at Taree through the week, and he used them down there as well at Mowalla in the Cod Nationals. And his thoughts was, how in the hell am I going to pull a fish out of there when they finally eat it? So, there's going to be, tackle's going to get smashed to pieces when we really refine it. It needs a little bit more tinkering, but, there needs to be a little bit more work done on it as well.
Yeah, we young Benny Farrar and I had a session out at Mowalla a couple of years ago. It was a pre-fish for the Cod Nationals, and we ended up the only way we could get them to bite was actually throwing a spinnerbait in through the crossovers of the laydowns, and you just throw the spinnerbait and let it drop down into the hole, and they'd eat it. If you ran it over the top or beside it, they wouldn't come out. You had to actually drop it. Jigs would work really well on them. Yep. How are you going to bloody get them back out of the hole?
Exactly. So
get them on first, then worry about that.
That's definitely your story. Yep. So, and Bill Latimer here has asked, hey, Glenn, if we're chasing specific colour combo heads or types for skirted jigs, are they available direct from yourself? So can they... or if they, you want to try and look after I know you want to try and look after your retailers. I'm just bringing the question up.
What I can do is if they want to place the order, I can definitely take their order for them but I will ask which shop that they actually go through. So they can give me the order. I've got no problems with doing that, but it'll have to go through the tackle store, which they normally deal with. And that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah.
I've got no problem doing it, but it's not something that I can drop straight away and do it. There is they're just going to have to wait for time-wise and that for me to do it. That's all.
Yeah, so as you said, you've got to get your previous orders out first anyway, but and you've got to look after your retailers for anyone that's in your industry or your side of the industry. If you're taking orders in through your direct sales process, you're taking orders away from your retailers, and you don't want to be seen doing that.
No. But I'm quite happy to do. I'm happy to do custom order stuff. And that's the way it all started. So that's not a drama at all, but it has got to go directed through the shop.
Yep. All right, we've got a fairly long question for Rod here. Rod, do you enjoy fishing the open dams for cod in closed season, or are you happy to put the cod gear away for a few months? Are you an advocate of the dams being open, or do you think they should be closed during the closed season as well?
Well, Gory, well, I've never actually fished the dams during the closed season, I don't think.
Yeah, you have.
It just sort of hasn't happened for me. And I mean, at the end of the day, if the dams are open to cod fishing, then I'd be happy to do it. There's sort of they've left them open because of fecundity rates and all that sort of stuff. They don't reckon they breed that well in the dams, so they leave them open. So I'll go with what they say on that. But I haven't actually had a chance to really do it. So, and maybe over the next month or so, before the actual cod open comes, I'll get across to Eildon and have a bit of a sticky beat, Actually, in saying that, I think I did go over there once last year. I'm not sure it was during the close or whether it was actually just before it closed, but we did catch one fish. But no, I think it's great to have fisheries that are open.
I think if they're stocked well enough and they're looking after them, I don't have a problem with it. Yeah.
No, and they go back anyway. Like seriously, most of these impoundments are big fish fisheries now. Yep. I mean, Eildon's on its way. I'd say in another 4 or 5 years, Eildon's going to be like these barrow dams. You're going to go there, you catch 4 cod for the weekend. Probably 3 of them will be over a metre and 1 will be in the 90s. Like it's on its way there, and it's going to be great. But if fisheries say that they don't really breed, and that's why they've opened them up for year-round fishing, then why not take advantage of that?
Yeah.
But they are a put and take fishery, mate. So our license fees are going into fingerlings to go into those dams.
No, that's right.
So, I sort of feel, I reckon it's a good thing. I'd like to see a few more of the impoundments along the eastern seaboard open up to take the pressure off, a couple of the impoundments that are opened up. So, it gives you a chance to fish for them all year round.
I think if you look at it in the bass scene, so New South Wales claimed to close for bass season, but Sinclair and Glenbourne stay open and they fill them full of fish. More people would take a bass out of there to eat. They'll take a cod out of Eildon to eat, wouldn't they?
Exactly, mate.
Yeah.
And it's the same as Queensland with the barrow dams. Look at all the big barrow dams. You can fish them all year round, but there's a closed season for all the rivers and that sort of thing. So I personally, I think we should take a leaf out of their book and do a bit more of it.
Well, that's right. I went up to Faust with you, Glen, and we had an absolute ball. We spent, 8 or 9 days there, caught some massive barramundi, never kept any. It wasn't. It was just about going fishing for them. I was like, if I want to catch one to eat, I'll go out and fish the rivers and stuff. But it's just a great fishery where the chances of catching a big fish are right there, every time. And like I said, these impoundments are no different. And Eildon, like 4 or 5 more years, that's going to be a ripper spot.
Yep. Oh, that's great question and great answer. So Dale Sinclair has written here, I used the new Bassmans at Lake Sinclair in Michigan 2 years ago. The Yanks love him. He's got a group of Yanks that he goes over there and fishes with. And they were massively strong. So there's a shout, another shout out from overseas.
Mate, he was pretty lucky. He was a bit privy to some of the first ones before they come out. So yeah, he was a bit lucky there. That little tall streak of duck shit. I'll fix him.
There's a few G-ups probably on the way, but Shane asked a question earlier on. He reckons colours for fish or anglers?
Look, some colours are definitely for fish, and then other colours, you get fishermen that keep asking you for a little bit of this and a little bit of that all the time. And when people keep asking you for the same thing, well, you sort of got to do it.
Yep.
So I think fishermen are their worst enemy. They're worse than women and handbags and shoes. They are. They always want some little bit of bling on it.
Jesus,
I personally feel you could cut your colour system down a hell of a lot. For argument's sake, the ones we're doing for the US, there's only 6 colours.
Yep.
But what they do is they use a couple of different weights and a couple of different blade configurations to fish that actual spinnerbait in the certain areas that they want to fish, instead of worrying about colour as much as what Australian fellas do.
Look, I think, and we've talked about this before, but guys like yourselves and Rod Harrison and people that have been around for a long period of time have knowledge, and knowledge is key to a lot of this stuff. But the Yanks do it very, very well with the way that they talk about their fish and how they fish, and there's a whole process that goes in behind it of the thinking, whether it's pre-spawn, spawn, and they'll run different lures for different opportunities for that sort of thing, where we're more worried about, having a 3 pink stripes and a blue stripe on a white lure makes a hell of a difference, when we're not really concentrating on, maybe what time of year it is, what bait source they're chasing. We don't put in a hell of a lot of thought into that, I don't think.
No, well, I've seen it a fair few times. A lot of guys, they'll say, their favourite spinnerbait is a 1/2 ounce. Well, for argument's sake, down that neck of the woods, down Marwalla way, 1/2 ounce single willow.
Yep.
But that's all they'll throw. They'll have 500 different colours in that sort of thing, but they won't change the weight to one a bit lighter, to have Colorado blade set up, or a DT set up, or that sort of thing. They'll have exactly the same thing. So sometimes I think they shoot themselves in the foot a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Are you privy to colour, Rod, or do you
I place putting the lure in front of the fish first, Corey. So depth becomes the most important thing. You can have the flashiest colour in the world. If it's swimming 10 feet above the fish, it's useless.
Yeah.
And same if it's swimming under the fish. And, get it in front of the fish first and then worry about the colour. I think you can break your colours down into brights and darks. A bright orange and a black, or a purple. Yep. It's. I don't think there's that much to it, mate. I've seen it on the Murray where, I remember Gus one day up at Tol at Robinvale there. He trialled up about a 70-pound cod on, I think it was on a pink Predatech boomerang. Oh, no, it was on a black one, sorry, and it swallowed the lure. And get off there. And we let the fish cook some photos and let the fish go, and he tied on another one. He put on a pink one because he was king of the thing and he could do whatever he wanted. Went about 50 yards and hooked another big one. So he's gone from black to pink in exactly the same order and hooked 2 giant fish. So I think it's more so the depth than anything else. Get that right and then start thinking about colour. And I have seen colour make a difference. I remember one time at Belsazile and pink lures, it didn't matter what it was. If it was running at the right depth and it was pink, it got belted.
Yeah.
And well and truly over all other colours. There was 3 boats there, and it wasn't deep water. It wasn't like you were stretching to find the depth. But pink lures just on that particular trip just smashed the fish,
Yeah.
So
look, it does happen, but it's not as the question was. It's not as privy as what we make it out to be. I think your theory is the best, Rod. That get them hooked first and then worry about everything else later on. I think if more fishermen actually put the lure where the fish were, we'd catch more fish.
That's it, mate. That's
we put $100 lure on it, as we're all said. You can buy a stumpy or a Bassman for under $20, but you go out and buy $100 lure, and you're too frightened to throw it where the fish are.
Yeah, that's it, mate. If you're not into sticks, you're not in the game. I don't reckon. I mean, it's a little bit.
If Rod bought it, if Rod bought the $100 lure, I'd throw it. Bloody hell.
You would too, straight into a tree.
Yeah, it'll be gone.
We'll go in. Paul's got one to add to that. UV, do you think UV makes a difference? Can fish see it? And is there any UV light to show that the lure is down there or not? So I think the main part of that question is do you think that UV is more important than the colour?
Look, I've had lots of discussions with a couple of really good fellas about this sort of thing. If UV was the be all and end all, the only colour you'd ever use would be a bright chartreuse or something like that.
Yep.
But I think there is certain amounts of UV that definitely make a difference.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Glen. You run a UV torches over chartreuse, as you said.
Yeah.
Or some of the oranges, which are some of my favourite colours. I like it. Or the yellows and reds and things like that. They flash up really well, and they're colours I really like to use, you know. You whack it over a purple, you don't see too much. But most people love purple lure, you know, like, and I've got to be honest, in my time cod fishing, probably purple's the lure I've caught the least amount of fish on. I don't really go with it, you know. It's so maybe UV a little bit. I think contrast is probably one of the most important things, where it breaks things up so they become more visible.
Yeah, contrast and, well, a little bit of UV. I think people have overstated UV too much.
Yeah.
You know, when the UV first come out, I went through my whole skirt range that we were making up and that sort of thing, and it was really interesting. A couple of the skirt colours that were really good fish producers actually were natural looking colours, but you put the UV torch on them and they completely changed colour. So they weren't like a bright chartreuse or anything. They were like dirty greens and that sort of thing, a lot of natural looking patterns, which a lot of people wouldn't buy, but they are really good fish producers. So, a little bit goes a long way.
And I've seen the same thing, the UV torch over that what we call red bar Codzilla, which I've caught a lot of fish on. It's like yellow lure with red stripes.
Yeah.
And it's the weirdest looking colour. It's like, well, who would buy that? Why would a fish eat that? But I've smashed heaps of big cod on it, but you hit it with a UV light and it's bling straight away, you know. So, but once again, mate, I still think it's putting it in the right spot, you know.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that 100%. Now, that's the can of worms for talking about lures. I'm going to get the can of worms out for Rod and the cod side of things. So Anthony's asked, Rod, do you think the Lower Murray is on its way back following the Blackwater event? Or similarly, will the Lower Darling take a few years to bounce back?
This. Listen, the Darling, look, as you know, with the Darling, it was whittled down to holes. A lot of big fish were lost. A lot of fish were saved. We certainly lost a lot of fish out of the river. There's still a lot there. Don't worry about that. And we've got good flow through there at the moment. The lakes are filling up. So long as they don't do something stupid and empty the lakes again, like they did last time, I think, look, in time, things will bounce back. It always takes time. The Lower Murray, the Blackwater, and look, I had my own ideas on this. I know Blackwater's a natural event and all that sort of stuff, but I still defy, and I will say it 1,000,000 times, show me where in history Blackwater has travelled 750 kilometres or more down the Murray River, and I will say that this is natural. It's happening naturally. Yeah. 750 kilometres. Blackwater is a localised thing that happens in small tributaries and stuff where it gets washed into creeks and stuff that connect to the main Murray River. We're talking about enough black water to mix in the Murray and travel 750 kilometres or more. That is a phenomenal amount of black water. And I've been told that, they just didn't know about this in past history. And I mean, for God's sake, you go back 100 years, most of the trade was on the river. Professional fishermen, I think Wentworth had a harbour of 400 odd boats. So people were on the river seeing things. And if this happened back then, they would have seen it.
Yep.
So it only happened 2010, 11, 2016. And I can tell you right now that Murray-Darling Basin Authority's bumhole is already puckering because they reckon it's going to happen again this year if we have a flood. So how you can predict a ginormous blackwater event, that's never happened other than the last decade or so is just beyond me. And has it come good downstream? There are a few fish downstream. Around Ned's Corner and stuff. I think that they were in some of the out of the bottom of Lake Victoria, through I forget what river it's called, but through there back to the Murray. They escaped into there. There could have been thousands of fish got into there, and then once the blackwater went through, they've redispersed back up the river. Yeah, there are some good fish there, but nothing compared to what was there, and I mean, the Robinvale area and them sorts of places, I haven't fished there. That was one of my favourite stomping grounds. I haven't fished there from 2010.
Yeah.
And I remember catching my first giant Murray cod at Belser Island of 86 pound, How old's that fish and why didn't that die? If this has been happening forever, why, how was that fish there?
Yeah. So for the layman's, for people who don't understand what blackwater events are, just a brief 10-second summary of what a blackwater event is.
It's vegetation that the water goes through the vegetation in the forest, breaks down the leaf matter, becomes hypoxic, like sump oil, say, comes back into the river, robs the river of oxygen, and and the fish actually, well, I guess they suffocate to death.
Yeah.
Now, like I said to you, this is okay. I can understand this in smaller sections of water, like some of these creeks that run out of and back into the Murray River, small sections of water where it's, you can nearly jump across it or it's only 20 foot wide. But we're talking a river that's a couple of 100 metres wide and some places 40, 50 feet deep. And there's, for some reason, these huge amounts of black water have built up that they can travel for 700 or 800 kilometres. Where did this come from?
And not to mention we've been in drought for years.
And where did it come from? Now, the first blackwater event they blamed on the millennium drought because we've been in drought for so long. The second blackwater event they blamed on 24 years worth of leaf matter built up in the scrub. I don't know, some of that would have been wiped away in the millennium drought, you would think. Now we're only 5 years on, and they're worried it's going to happen again. Well, you can't tell me in the whole time we've been here that there hasn't been a period where there has not been a flood for 5 years. So
no, and that's not only that, is there hasn't been enough physical time for that leaf matter to build up enough to cause a blackwater event.
Well, you wouldn't think so. Like, surely there's been periods of time where 5 years has gone by where we haven't had a flood to wash it away. I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I've been stomping around the river for 30 odd years looking at stuff. And just because you've got a piece of paper that says you're a clever ass doesn't mean you convince me that you are. You know what I mean? It's like some of these people that can tell you all these things, how everything works, can't catch a cod. Now, if they were that bloody smart, surely of course they'd go up the river and catch a cod. It's not, you don't have to join too many dots together, put the bait on the hook, throw it in the water.
Yeah.
But they can say to you, oh, the ecosystem does this and the trees do that and they drop this amount of litter and the water goes out. It does. Mate, they're baffling you with bullshit, I reckon. And if they kill the fish again this time, we're getting to a point where one of the greatest fisheries I've ever had a privilege to fish is all but stuffed. You look now at the superheroes of cod fishing, they're all coming out of the impoundments. They're not coming out of the Murray anymore.
No.
And I can remember back, not so long ago, before that black water, I could go out, and if I had a good day, I get 5 over a metre just trolling along the Murray. If I know blokes that fished the Murray last year in these same areas that fished it for months and never got a hit. That this is how much it's changed. So, I don't know. I think, look, there are still a few big fish. I think nature sees its way through to make sure that everything doesn't cark it, but it certainly has changed. And if we have another blackwater event now, you're looking at another 10 years before you have big fish again. It's about 10 years I reckon, from what I've seen of the Murray and other systems, I reckon it's from small fish to a metre's about 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
Seems to be about that time frame. If you go back through the floods and you see where they've had a good breed, and then 10 years later, you're getting a lot of metre fish, a year class. You know what I mean?
The year classes. We see it in the dams or the impoundments with the bass. We know the years, the food's been good and whatnot. So I can't see why it doesn't. Menindee Lakes obviously hasn't been there forever. I
think it has, yeah.
Yeah,
has it? I thought it's only sort of been the last 50 or 60 years in Menindee Lakes.
They've been there forever. They've just been regulated.
Yeah.
I'm very sure they've been there forever. But they just
that's basically, we don't know how it works, but that's basically how a lot of the native fish know when a flood event and that sort of stuff's coming. And the Menindee Lakes was one of their spots where those fish could go and hide, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, it's one of, for yellowbelly, for golden perch, it's one of the biggest breeding sites there is. A lot of them, they've already shown that, I forget what percentage it is, but a large percentage of golden perch in the lower Murray and right back up through to, say, Swan Hill and beyond, a very large percentage of the golden perch actually come from the Menindee Lakes.
Yeah.
And below Menindee Lakes through is one of the strongest cod breeding sections as well.
Yeah.
So when you start to stuff these rivers up, we don't just lose what we've lost, last year and the year before in the way of fish numbers. We lose what's coming in 10 years' time. It's terrible. And it's without good floods in these rivers or good flow in these rivers, it's looking pretty bleak. I don't want to be a misery.
No, but I just don't understand the whole common sense side of things. They might have a PhD in whatever, but sometimes common sense says to me, I heard an announcement this week that they're releasing so many megalitres out of Hume this week because we're expecting rain next week. Yet Hume's at 50%, has a potential of another 5 Sydney harbours go into it this year. Why don't they let it fill up and keep the river flowing when it's supposed to be flowing? Instead, traditionally before the dams went on, we had different flows. So we're getting flow in summer months when we should have been getting flow in winter months.
Yeah, mate, it's all about money. That's all it is. Water's money. They don't give a shit about fish.
It's probably the almond farms.
Well, and that's probably more true than funny, Glenn. Look, at the end of the day, these people can stand up there and they can preach, we care about the fishes and we love this. You have a look at behind every group that cares about the fishes, there's money. Yep. There's money. There's government grants, there's all sorts of, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. And it's sad to watch. And all these people are employed, and I'm not going to say who they're employed by, but they, at the end of the day, they care about their paycheck. They know some of this shit's not right, but they're not going to say it because they got massive paychecks, superannuation for the, and everything, jobs for the rest of their life. You crunch these schemes on the head, they're off counting cockroaches and trying to make some other thing up that they can do for a job. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, your blood pressure's getting up, so I'm going to change it here, all right? I can see you're filling up slowly, so I'm going to change the topic.
He needs another marshmallow.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul Langley, for getting me out of the poo here. I didn't want to be saying Rod have a heart attack or anything. What do you think the biggest and most influential changes come into fishing? So what have you seen that's the biggest change in fishing in general. We'll start with Glen.
Oh, Jesus.
I'll give you my answer. Maybe it'll help you think about yours.
Yeah.
I think the electric trolling motor has been the biggest change in fishing overall for everything. I think even bigger than fish finders. But you might think carbon fiber rods. You might think,
Oh, there's been a whole heap, braid gives you a feel. You just get that much feel with the braid. You can actually nearly feel when a fish is breathing on the spinnerbait or fouls the blade. You can nearly feel it if they've inhaled it and spat it back out and that sort of thing. Braid's been awesome. Trawling motors, like you said, has been fantastic, being able to hold in the spots and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'll probably say I'll stick to braid.
Braid, yep, that's a great answer.
Braid.
Yeah, and I'm 100% behind Glen. I just think braid is, it's the first time I used it. That was it. And I use it for everything. I use it in the surf. It catches less. You got side current and weed and stuff. It catches less of everything. You can see the smallest of little bait pickers tacking your bait when you're, 60, 70, 80 metres out into the sea. You can see the little tiny rattles and braid. Yeah. And I think social media.
Yeah, and it's inside image, and if you're in the boat with Rod, mate, he's just a windbreak anyway.
No.
And we crash a lot because I can't see past Glen.
Yes. Look, I have to say that last time you brought up, social media has changed fishing in good and bad ways. And, it's probably been one of the biggest changes to fishing in the last, maybe 7 to 10 years, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it gives you a look. There's a lot of anglers out there that are spoon-fed now. They don't have to do the yards. They just sit here and glean it. And then as soon as they hear of a big heap of fish getting caught, they see how they're being caught. Off they go and they catch fish that they haven't done the homework for. But in saying that, it's another skill to be able to glean social media to pick up the little crumb trails and stuff like that, to look at photos, to look at footage, and sort of piece things together and get yourself on the money, But social media has most definitely opened up angling. Like back in the day, you had to wait for a fishing article to come out. And as we know, as writers and stuff, you write the article this season, it goes in, it takes 6 months to get published, the river floods, everything's different, So, social media and, as Glen said, braid have been really big impacts on fishing.
Yeah. I'm just trying to have a look in my little Bible here that Rod wrote. I was trying to get a published date on that, but the amount of times that I have referred back to that book still today for information, But as you said, back in the day, you had to wait for it to come out to print. You had to wait for the freshwater fishing magazine or the local, to come out.
Or the other thing, mate, you had to work shit out for yourself. You actually had to work shit out.
You had to go fishing.
Yeah.
I do get a lot of comments because quite often I do a lot of filming and I just film everything. I don't care what happens, if I catch fish or not, I'll put it up. And I do get a lot of social media commentary on, do you ever catch a fish? And, it's like, well, I'm telling you the truth. If I don't catch one, I'm not freaking going to sit there and lie about it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it, mate. You don't catch them all the time. Look, everyone has a hard run. I have hard runs. Glen's had the hardest run I've ever seen. But everyone has a bad trot. Like 15 years without a fish, Glen, you'll get one soon, mate.
Yeah, tough, mate.
We got a couple of questions here that I'm not. Look, Corey Bosch has asked about the pumps, and Emmett Visser asked about the Murray causing massive. Look, we're not going to go any more into that. We've sort of covered what we can. We don't want to.
Your show will get cut, mate.
Yeah, we don't want to talk too much about that. We got a question here from, where did I see that one? Ben Craig, here we go. So what do you think is more important to catch big fish, an electric motor or live scope? I think he might mean hummingbird, but we'll
Bingo. So again, this is exactly the thing. Like live scopes the last 18 months, basically.
Mm.
Yeah, the boys that have been using live scope have caught some good fish, definitely. But yeah, I'd say electric motor.
Yeah, mate. I up until recently, other than a sponsor boat, I've never owned a petrol motor. I had a nice Swisho little Quintrex, and I had an electric motor and 2 batteries when I very first started cod fishing, and that's for probably the first 12, 15 years. That's all I used. I'd put the boat in where I wanted to fish. I'd have to limp around and make sure my 2 batteries were going to last me for the weekend. And I learnt so much by not roaring around the river. I'd have to, if there was a shallow bank, I'd cast that. As soon as I left that bank, I'd throw a hard body out, troll across the middle of the river to a rock bar or whatever and troll that bank. And the amount of big fish that I found in the middle of the river on structure that you would never know was there unless you actually trolled across it. Because I never had a sounder either. The electric motor was, for me, was everything when I first started cod fishing, and I could not imagine cod fishing without one. I'd rather not have a petrol and just have an electric.
Yeah.
And being quiet in the boat. Big fish.
Yeah.
If you're chasing big fish, definitely being quiet in the boat. Yeah.
I think that's a definite river situation. I've since the last time you guys were on, and Rod, you talked about last time we were on how you were even not slamming the door before you come to the riverbank. I think that is a definite river fish trait. There is 100% true with that. But I think maybe with these impoundment fish, Eildon, Copeton, Blowering type situations, they not as attuned to the noise. You can be a lot more noisy in the impoundments than what you can be in the rivers. I think they're just you go to Copeton in the middle of winter and there's 400 boats buzzing around at night with their lights off. It's like the mosquito fleet going around there. It's worse than the tournament.
Yeah, and I think they'd have to be starting to get switched on at Copeton a bit, like the sounds of lures and they're not stupid, these fish. I've seen stuff over the years where you just think, you'll watch a fish follow your lure right in, and as it rolls to turn away, as it hasn't taken it, its eyeball sticks to you, and its head's pointing the other way, but its eyes still looking at you.
Yeah,
you know bloody well. It won't matter what you cast there; that fish is not going to touch it again.
Yeah,
whereas other ones come up and they're looking at the lure and they sort of duck away, and then you throw it out again. They'll come up, and they'll hit it. But once they've spied you, they know something's not right. They won't do it, and it's noise and I just think it's a really big factor, really huge factor,
definitely,
especially on big educated fish. They're not stupid at all. They're very smart, very switched on.
They had to get to that size, didn't they?
Yeah, well, that's it,
exactly,
mate.
All right, I'll just Tanya, thanks for asking this question. I do have to give everyone that hasn't had their skin checked. I put a post up on my Facebook the other day. Get it checked, guys. Get it checked. It's healing well. I'll get the stitches out tomorrow, but don't stuff around with them. Do your yearly checks. Yes, spreading the awareness. I will be doing this for the rest of my life at any opportunity I can. Sun smart and get checked, guys. It could have been a very different story for me if I was pig-headed.
Sorry, Rod. There's no way I'm checking your freckle.
Actually, I'm with you, Corey. I've got to go up and have a couple taken off me this week to see whether they're as bad as the one you've got. Hopefully not, mate. But yeah, you're right. You're right, and you need to keep an eye on things. Like I've got fair skin and fair hair, but you've got dark hair and olive sort of skin. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what sort of skin you got. We can all get the same sort of things. And as fishers, we spend a lot of time in the sun.
We do, and we have a little bit of a family laugh. We were only talking about it the other day with my brother. We used to go out up the Murray for a camping trip every Christmas, and Mum used to slather coconut oil all over us. She might as well have been cooking us, but there was no 50 plus back then. You had the nice little smelling coconut, and you looked all shiny, and it was great. But yeah, I mean, Harry now, if he goes out in the boat, he's long sleeve shirts, face buffs, and sunscreen on anything that's poking out. I'm shit scared now, so I can't say it enough to look after yourselves.
Yeah, that's it. Just get checked.
Yeah, just get checked and make sure of it. Matty Wales, here's a question. Good question. Where do you see lure development going in years to come? Maybe styles and materials.
I say it more in materials.
Yep.
Sort of thing. Just like spinnerbait side of it, it's just developing. Well, I can't. Fitzy asked a little while ago about titanium wire. Well, I can't use titanium wire because there's been a worldwide patent put on it. But yeah, just different materials like that. Wire mixers, as in lead weights. Well, you sort of move into more sort of tungsten alloys, all that sort of thing. Stuff with hard bodies. Well, the guys in the US are already using stuff like for their bibs. They're using circuit boards for their bibs and that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of materials like that are going to will filter through into the fishing industry. And, you know, just little developments, if you can get hold of them early on,
yep,
it's going to be great.
So you're talking with that circuit board type situation. Are they using all recycled stuff?
Well, that I couldn't tell you, mate. That I couldn't tell you. I know with some of the fishing shirts and that, they're using recycled water bottles and that sort of thing.
Yep.
There's a lot of that sort of stuff. I noticed when I was in the US at ICAST a couple of years ago, there was a lot of manufacturing for sun protection shirts and that in going down that sort of avenue. And also, I'm going to give them a plug, but Fish Pond are actually making fishing tackle bags and that all out of recycled fishing line and plastic bottles and that as well. So
yeah. I believe there's a full range of Costa sunglasses made out of recycled plastic bottles now as well.
Oh, they must be the ones Rod drank out of because I can't see out of them. Sorry, Matty.
All right. What else do we got here? Jordan Soto reckons he better go and get his skin checked. He's had a bad run of late. And big shout out to Jordan. He watches the show every week. Hope you're feeling better, mate. That infection must have been a bloody good one to put you in hospital and knock you around for 2 or 3 weeks. So, yeah, look, if you're not going to get your skin checked, get your teeth checked, apparently, Jordan. So, I'll tell you, Jordan, just to make you feel better, I had a toothache and an abscess, and I didn't do anything about it, and I started to get, this was unrelated, I started to get chest pains, and I thought I was having a heart attack, and I went in, and they put me on the machine, and the heart specialist checked me over and said, there's nothing wrong with you, and I kept getting these chest pains anyway. I finally bit the bullet, went to the dentist, they pulled the tooth out, and my chest pain stopped. So I haven't had a chest pain since they ripped the tooth out. So, all right. Costa are making glasses. Yeah, out of recycled nets. There you go. I was close.
Yeah,
bottled nets.
Yeah.
Hey, get your last. Well, look, we've done it again, guys. That's 75 minutes. Normally we only go for about an hour, so we're well over our normal time. Make sure we haven't finished yet. We'll keep going. Well, we've got a good crowd on, but get your questions in so we can keep talking about them. But let's stay away from the topics of Blackwater events, and so we don't have any major issues there. And politics, we'll stay away from politics and maybe that sort of thing. So
I like this one here, mate, from Ricky Mundy. How does Rod keep the hobbit quiet in the boat or on the bank? Ricky, I feed him scones, mate.
Oh, there you go. I found it.
No noise. He's never made a scone in his life. He's never made a scone in his life.
Hey, Glen,
no noise from the boat.
You make sure that you tell your lovely wife, Sue, that I'm coming up for those scones and jam at Smoko as soon as the borders open.
Hey, hang on, mate. Well, you've missed out. It's Mum that makes the scones and jam and cream.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So Sue's just the arse in the photo then?
Exactly. Exactly. And a really good one.
He's not a very good chair, mate, I'll tell you. I remember back in the day when we used to do a bit of cod fishing, we used to have the old 10 o'clock smoko meet up on the river for scones and cream and stuff like that. And we come over to them one morning because they had all the tucker. We come over at 10 o'clock and it was like, I'll have a scone and stuff, mate. I said, no, we didn't bring any today. And I looked at him and he's got ice and sugar and cream on the end of his nose and a bit on his chin. The bastards ate the lot. There was no sharing that.
Waistline. Look what happens to him when he has a crack. Come on.
Well, that's
Yeah,
gold.
no,
That's gold. With Glen here. Look, Dale's a previous guest on the show. Glen is the only bloke who's married to a lady who's been inducted to the Lure and Fly Hall of Fame. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she's actually, come here.
Give her a shout out. That's the line.
Yeah, she won't come. She won't. She just give me a frozen beer.
It's got. Come and say good day, Sue.
Go on.
Yeah, come on, Susie.
G'day.
Yeah, you should have been a boxer, Glen. You're punching well above your weight, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
The cricket average is pretty high, so he's that's for anyone that doesn't know. Sue is the brains of the operation, and Glen's the brawn. Oh. Listen, the boys are still on there. I'm going to go back through the questions. What have we not covered that you'd like to cover tonight, guys?
Hey?
Is there any topics you'd like to cover that we haven't come up with tonight?
Black water would be good, mate.
Black water?
Black water would be great.
Oh, yeah.
Fitzy asked about natural materials. Do I use natural materials? Yeah, metals are natural.
Metals are natural, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Is there a step away from now? This might be speaking outside of school, but is there a step to go away from lead? You talked about tungsten and stuff like that. Is there a sort of a process where lead will be eventually gone? I know everyone else is doing stupid shit.
Yeah, look, I think probably in the future, maybe. I don't know. I've been using it for 20 years and it hasn't made me that stupid.
What are you talking about?
Don't ask God that. But yeah, look, I think probably in the future, probably new metals that come along. But I know tungsten's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So, whereas lead is the price that it is.
Yep.
And you start running into stuff like tungsten, and it just punches the price straight up.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Maybe there's another thing on the way that we just don't know about. I mean, the only downside to lead is you were 6'4" when you started.
No, yeah, I was, but it's carrying people like Mackenzie and Sinclair and Fitzy and Tony Bennett. You're just not going to grow when you're carrying all these.
You're carrying all that weight on your shoulders, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, come on, give me some questions, guys, or these guys are really going to go off tap. So throw them in there. Here's one. Bo has asked, Glen, is there any chance you would go into making a style of rod, or just throwing your spinnerbaits?
Well, yeah, this is a bit of a double-edged sword. I've already worked with a couple of guys to do exactly this sort of stuff. Now, the boys from two different people, the boys from Venom with some of the cod stuff and that we do, doing awesome rods, and also Ian Miller as well. So working with both those guys, if you buy, if you're actually after a rod for throwing spinnerbaits and go along those lines with those two boys, I've worked with both of those, and yeah, they do some awesome gear.
Oh, both companies. I know, Langers and I have fished for the last 10, 15 years together. He's always been looked after by Miller, and I've just come on board with the guys from Wilson and throwing some blade and tails and some venom rods, and they're just insane products.
Yeah, mate. Like I actually sort of got up boothy a little bit because I actually seen I went fishing at Faust with Johnny Schofield and that, and Peter Price actually had that 7 foot venom in the 6 kilo and the 8 kilo.
Yep.
And I said to Boothie, where are these rods? It's something that we'd been sort of chasing for years and never had hold of, but Peter Price had hold of them, chasing Barrett Faust and around Mackay. And then lo and behold, later on, it started to, they started to come out. So, they were just a bit of equipment there that we didn't know was around. So they were fantastic. So, and we've really knocked some fish on them. No. So is this fella.
That's a great question, Bo. I think I better give away a prize, and I picked out a question from earlier on, and I can't remember what the question was, but it doesn't really matter what the question was. It's actually the Blackwater event. Anthony Smith asked a question about the Blackwater event. Anthony, if you send me a PM, you'll win the prize for tonight, and you've got a couple of packets of power baits there, and some Halco lures as well. So I will send them out to you this week, mate, for asking the obvious to get Rod fired up. It's always going to come on.
Do I really get fired up about that? Do I?
I love it.
Carrot top. Here's a good one, Corey. Lockie Watson. How does an up-and-coming lure maker go about getting their product into stores?
Yeah, there you go. I'll bring that up on the screen. You can answer that one. That's a good question.
Mate, I can tell you now it is a lot of hard work, a lot of leg work, and first of all, you've got to make sure that your actual lures produce the goods. And it does. It takes a long time and a lot of hard work. Work with your close mates to start with, and then slowly try and get people on board to use your product and refine it. And it will come, but it'll take a hell of a long time. It just doesn't come overnight.
I think Lockie, from memory, Lockie's a young fella from up St. George way. If I've got the right one, and he made some lures up. I think even Langers might have given him a shout out, and they just went ballistic. So, very young kid. I think Lockie might be. Lockie, tell us your age, mate. If you're still on there, let us know how old you are, mate.
And whether you're taller than Glen.
Yeah, you probably are. Guaranteed, Lockie. Guaranteed, mate. You'll stay really short by carrying a whole heap of people like I've got to.
I got a good one. Hey, Shane Melrose. Glenn, can you reduce the material you put in your packaging? I can never friggin' get them out and reduce the staples, please. They are bloody all through my boat, you reckon?
Oops. I don't know how to answer that one.
That's all good. And let me go. Bill, here we go. Is Bassman apparel coming out? You used to have some hats and jumpers and that floating around in the day. Just too busy making lures.
Exactly, mate. There's plenty of people out there making a shitload of apparel and that sort of stuff. So we sort of, every now and again, we'll do a little bit, but I sort of tend to put me money back into hooks and materials and everything like that and keep the ball rolling. It's just, there's enough people out there with hats and stubby holders and shirts and that sort of thing. So, and then you get sponsored anglers who use their shirt as a doormat out the front of their swag, like wiping their feet on it.
You'll never forgive me for that, will you?
No, I won't.
I didn't know it was there. It was dark.
I knew exactly who he was talking about.
Loveliest thing to see is, giving him a couple of shirts and one's laying out the side of his swag to wipe his feet on before he gets in his swag. Yeah, beautiful down the side of the river.
There we go. So that's a great question. Oh, look at this. Rod's on. So Rod Harrison. So I did give you the shout out before for sending me the book, mate. He wants to know.
Hey, Rodney.
He wants to know are lake fish faster learners than river living cousins?
Yeah, Harrow. I think you probably already know the answer to this, mate. I think cod, lake or river. They're probably, it comes back like you would know yourself, pressure and fishing familiarity, like what they've seen and heard and been pricked by and all that sort of stuff. I guess maybe in the river, some noise gets lost in the current as opposed to the lakes where it's a little stiller and that sort of stuff. But at the moment, I think lakes haven't had the pressure that the Murray and some of them smaller rivers have had for the last 30 years. You know, we're sort of really only starting to cotton onto lakes now in the last year or two that they're really starting to get slammed. Even like Glen Lion this year, it's fished very well. And I think every man and their dog that, you know, you flick a lure over your shoulder and catch a fish there at the moment because they haven't been educated yet. I don't think it'll take too long. There won't be many seasons and they'll get a lot harder to catch.
Yeah.
So,
and you know the bonus of that is that's going to free you up in the river because nobody will be going to the river. They'll all be going
that's it. It's the same old. I know with the Murray, after a flood, once the water clears, the fish are relatively easy to catch for the first start of the season. You know, the first bit of the season, the first 3 or 4 months, you smack them. And then all of a sudden it's like, I remember this. And they seem to tune back down again to, you know, a rattly lure. They know that sound, the sound of the ping of a sounder, even an electric motor, you know, and conversation. So I think cod, Rod, and, you know, you would be better versed in lake fish than myself, but I know they're smart in the river, and I have no doubt they're smart in the dams too.
Oh, and I'll get smarter. I agree with that. So great question. Thanks for sending that in, Rod. Really appreciate that. Lockie has got back to us. So let's give Lockie a shout out here. So Lockie's 17. He's from Glenrowan in Victoria. Oh, you're just down the road, mate. And he wants to get me lures out there. So this is a great way. Use your social media. Lockie, send me a link. It's Unleashed Lures. Send me a link to Corey's Dam Fishing in a private message, and I will share a post out on my social media for you this week, mate. So you sent that through. So
just another thing there for Lockie, mate. Have confidence in your lure. There's I've seen so many other lure makers that'll go out there and they'll go to a competition, and they won't tie on their lure. They'll tie on something else and fish something else, but won't have the confidence in their lure. If you're going to go to a competition or go anywhere, have the confidence to fish your lure and fish it well. Then when people see that you've got that sort of confidence and backing behind your product, that's when you'll start to get a following and that sort of thing for your product. So, mate, back yourself.
And I suppose, like anything, don't expect miracles straight away. You're in it for the long haul. I mean, as we said, you know, you started off, or Bassman started off going to competitions with a little trailer and making them on the spot for people. And that was some 25 years ago. So, you know, it's a long journey to get where you are. A lot of kids these days want to build a lure and have it in BCF next week. So
it's not going to happen.
Play the long game, Lockie. You know, you're playing
definitely, mate.
You're not playing a 2020. All right, let's see for some more questions. John here has asked, Rod, do you have a preference for surface lure or diving fishing lately? Are there preferences for handmade timber lures or plastic rattle types? So
John, look, mate, surface cod. I have found that a lot of big fish strike surface lures. I've caught in the last few years, not so much this year because of COVID, it slowed things down, of course, but the couple of seasons before, 90% of the fish will catch off the top are over a metre. So, you know, that says it all, really. big fish, them big meter cod and stuff. They like that surface opportunity. So I really like to fish them, but there's only certain times, prime times to fish them. That change of light in the morning, the change of light in the evening. I don't go into the night because I like campfires and alcohol and stuff like that.
Cuts into the drinking time.
And on overcast days, sometimes you'll catch these big fish in the middle of the day too. It's a matter of casting a lure, a surface lure. Like you'll cast a hard body or a spinnerbait all day, say for 2 hits or 1 hit or no hits. What's the difference between casting a surface lure for 1 hit or no hits? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've done it before and caught some big fish in the middle of the day. But I try to break things down. I generally do my surface in the morning. Then go to hard bodies or spinnerbaits, depending on the depth of water I'm fishing. And it says, and on handmade timber lures or plastic rattle types, I do have a thing for timber. It's probably because it takes longer for the lure maker to make it, and I think there's a little bit more love in it.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I've caught truckloads of big cod on rattly lures and plastic lures, so I think it's up to the individual. But I do like timber stuff. It's just because I think there's a little bit more care put into it. It's done a little bit less mass production,
Yeah.
And the sonics are probably a little bit different too in the water. So, but like in saying that, I've caught plenty on plastic stuff as well. So.
Yeah, I don't have a preference with either in a sense, but I do. I like the romantic notion with the wooden lure and the build and the time put in it and the story behind it and whatnot. So yeah, and if you can look after your local tackle shop or your local young guy that's going to build you your handmade lures, do that because it helps everyone out.
Yeah, definitely.
All right,
Yeah.
got another one here. Good one from. Got a good one from Shane again. Rod, have you caught cod in Epilogue, and do you think this will ever be a destination for cod?
I've got to be honest. I don't know much about Epilogue. I've never fished it. I think like if they are stocking Epilogue, and they're going to continue to do so, I can't see why it will not turn into a good cod fishery given time. If there's sufficient food and they put sufficient numbers of fish in there, it's only a time factor, and you'll have good sized cod. So it probably in time will become a good fishery.
I think my answer to that, Shane, with Epilogue being on the river, I think it's a Campaspe River that it's on. 2 rivers lead into it, but the water levels fluctuate so much at that the Eildon's probably better putting the extra into Eildon and keeping it up to tabs and actually changing Epilogue's cycle. So that's my view anyway. Not that it's worth a pinch of shit.
Mate, everyone's entitled to a view.
There you go. We're young Lockie from before that asked the question about the lures. Bruce Anderson, who runs fishing comps. A great way to promote your product as well is fishing comps. So don't forget to maybe your local fishing comp down there to make a few lures and give them out as prizes. That might help you get them out there, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
Glen.
Right, Glen Fishing Surface.
Dale Sinclair would like to know, are your surface lures still available? You've got
yeah, of course they are.
You've got your range out there.
Because Queenslanders are a little bit backward, and someone blocked the border, they're not allowed to get over yet. So don't worry, Dale, I'll sort you out, mate.
All right, we got another one here now. I don't know if this is a serious question or somebody just trying to make you fire up again here, Rod. So
did I really fire up?
No, but you can see the passion in your speech. So
well, mate, I'm pissed off all my big fish are dead. That's about the only way I can put it.
George Matthews wants to know. He said, "Codmac, will you be getting the Garmin Live unit soon, or do you already have one?" I mean, I don't know if this is a serious question or not.
All right, love this.
I'm pretty sure
you're a legend.
Hang on,
it's not serious, Corey. I think I'm being baited.
Yeah, George, I'll just bring this up here and get rid of your question for a second. If you have a look at the shirt,
Stand up, Rodney.
if you have a look at the shirt that he's wearing, it might be a hummingbird shirt. So I don't know if this is just
It's a fat shirt. Yeah,
I don't know if it's
sorry,
George or not.
Yeah, mate.
Sorry, George, mate. Like, it was a well-cast lure, mate, but I'm not going to bump at it. I'll just sit back behind me log and just watch.
And so, George, I've had a little bit of intel, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Let's go here. Ash Thompson has written, without overcomplicating things with everything, you can read on the internet and social media what homework do you do when you're planning fishing trips. So, we talked about social media earlier, how you can use it to your benefit. But what's your process? You talked about cod season. So earlier on in the show, you talked about cod season, the first opening that you'll be able to go and do what you want. You're already thinking, oh, if the weather's doing this, or if the river's flowing here or whatnot, you're 6 months, 3 months, 2 months out, you're already thinking about stuff like this, aren't you?
Yeah, mate, it's a combination of a lot of things. Like everyone, look, you can overthink cod fishing for sure, but at the end of the day, if you put yourself in the right place with the right water clarity and all the little bits and pieces that go where there's big fish, then you give yourself every opportunity of snagging a big fish straight from the start of the season. I'm fortunate enough to know, because I've been around for a while, I know a lot of locations, and I have links to a lot of very good anglers that keep me informed on bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So my process will be, I'll cut it down, and then it will come back to border openings for sure. And then probably the week before, I'll look at the weather, the river heights, and all the bits and pieces, and then I'll make my decision. And it doesn't mean it's going to be the greatest decision, but it'll be weighted with a little bit of information. It's like a recipe, Corey. The more ingredients you got correct, the more likely things are to turn out right.
Yeah.
So try and get all the little bits and pieces. If you know there's big fish where you're going, you're already a fair step ahead. Like, you're going to where there's big cod, all you need is a window. So if you go away for 2 or 3 days over the cod open, 3 days, surely you're going to find one stupid fish. And if it's a location where there's a lot of big fish, chances are your first fish for the season will be a metre or close to, you know what I mean? And a lot of people say that. How come so many big fish? You fish where there's big fish. I don't go where there's, little fish. There's some little fish, but the majority of locations, the majority of the fish are big fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you fish for big fish as well.
Yeah, and that's
you're not targeting small fish.
No,
you're targeting
that's
big fish.
But,
and just before you keep going with that, George has just replied here that he's only just tuned in, so he wasn't taking the mickey with his question about the Garmin Live Scope. He's only just tuned in.
Yeah. Sure, George.
We apologise humbly, George. If you did get offended with that, I'll find a prize for you. If you didn't, I won't give you one. So
don't worry, George, you're a legend, mate. That was
that was probably the best question of the night, George. And you didn't even mean it. So
that was gold.
We thank you for that. Hey, listen, I've got to. We're probably going to have to pull up stumps here. We've still got massive following on here, and it's 20 to 10 already. We could do this, and we will check in again with you guys, because this is always a blast, and I do appreciate giving me the time. This is the second time you've been on. You're welcome back. I'd love to have you on every second week, because I reckon we could cover enough bullshit that we'd keep everyone happy.
Could you get a beer sponsorship?
Yeah. Maybe hit Jack Daniels or Jim Beam or Bundaberg Rum or something up for a bit of a sponsorship. We could have a really long night, couldn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Some great Northern, mate.
Yeah.
Great sponsor a few people. Why not us?
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, Corey, just before we go, I'd like to say, of course, we had Harrow on there.
Yes.
Now, that guy is a true legend of our sport. Now, I grew up reading his stories and that sort of thing. If some of the young fellas could go back and start reading the stories that those guys done back in the day, there is so much material within those stories. It's just, there's so much knowledge there. It's not funny.
100% right, Glenn. These people,
It was just awesome reading all that sort of stuff. Growing up as we were kids,
And as
that sort of thing, it was awesome.
That book there was my Bible for years and years and years. I still go back and refresh to it, but I think I've got most of Rod's written material and have followed him. And if you want to check out what Rod's doing now, we had him back. So on my YouTube channel, episode 10, we had him on for a chat. So you can always go back onto and see what he's up to now. But if you get the chance and you're in a fish and tackle shop, make sure you buy one of his books. Not that he probably gets royalties anymore from him, but you'll learn something. You really friggin' will. So
he's a superstar, mate. I've spent a bit of time in the boat with Harrow, and he tells a good yarn.
Yep.
Can fish, and I sort of liken him. I grew up reading his stuff, and I would nearly say he is the reason that I do what I do.
Yep. Awesome.
I bought a box full of magazines at a fete in Hamilton at the Hamilton Showgrounds for 20 cents.
Yep.
It was a popcorn or it was a fishing magazine. So
$2 Bob's worth of magazines.
and I got a box full of magazines, and Rod Harrison featured through all of them. And this is what these young fellas now that are running around like, with a fork stick carrying their heads, they don't realise what these blokes have done. And I sort of equate Harrow as the Banjo Patterson of Australian fishing writing.
I love talking to him. Just how he puts words together, how he tells the story. And for any budding writer or anyone that is writing a story at the moment or stories for magazines, get rid of the eyes and start telling the story.
That's right.
It's not about you. It's about the journey. It's about, it's about the journey. And if you talk to these older gentlemen, and Rod's lovely at it, I love chatting to him on the phone. We can talk for, like talking to you guys now, but Rod just has the ability of putting that story, telling you how the trees glistened, how the shadow was, I can't do it. But he is brilliant at doing it. So get rid of the eyes and start talking about the journey.
That's right, mate. You don't.
My temperature's going up now.
Now we'll get off that subject, Corey, before you hop on this one.
Sorry about that, boy.
I'm mildly illiterate, so I can't even spell properly, but I do appreciate a good written article, and Rod has the ability to write a good article. If you're a budding writer, read some of his work and take the good points out of it and start bringing that good articles back, because I'm sick of reading about I.
That's right.
Totally agree, man.
Superstar.
Yeah, so that's it, guys. Anything else you'd love to cover?
Not really.
Not really. Well,
can we go back to Blackwater again, mate?
Yeah, Blackwater.
We'll do a whole episode.
How fat's right?
We'll get back onto it when it's happened again this year. We'll really have a crack at it.
We'll have a crack. What we might do is we might get a couple of these bean counters on, and we'll let you loose on them.
Mate, they'll baffle me with their degrees and their paychecks. That'll be it. I'll be snowed under.
I reckon that's a future challenge for me. I might get one of these bean counters from the Murray-Darling Basin Authority onto the show. I'll just tell him I got him on, but I'll cheer you up behind the scenes to come on, and we'll flick you all on the screen at once and see if he lasts any more than 10 minutes.
That'd be good.
Hey guys, look, as I said, I do thank you very much. I do have to just give a quick shout out before we go. That's it. The brand ambassadorship. See if I can do this right. Jump on, join the group, put your entries in. We've got some really cracking entries going in now. Really loving the apprenticeship coming, or the ambassadorship. I'm looking forward to doing my bit for it. There's no pathway in fishing, so this is our chance to try and put a pathway into fishing. You start off wherever you can and work your way up from there, and have a little bit of help. So
exactly,
it's a great little cause, and really looking forward to announcing the winner just before Christmas. Somebody's going to get a great little Christmas present. But that's enough on that. You two guys are absolute dead set legends. We talked about Harrow being a legend. You guys are legends as well. Love having you on the show. Stay on the air. I'm going to cut this off now, and we'll probably have another beer or so off air. But
I'll go and get the bottle of rum.
and we'll talk about Blackwater. But thank you again, guys. Thanks everyone for being on there. Huge show tonight. Thanks everyone, and
Wonderful.
we'll say out for now.
Get some big ones.
We'll get